What was that?
It was a 30-second countdown. I think that's quite cool.
Right, okay. Okay. Good evening, folks. Thanks for coming along. Hi, Brett. Hi, Drew. Hope you're well, enjoying the heat. I know we certainly didn't today. It's too warm today. It's too warm. So we're just going to wait in the numbers building up before we get started. I don't know what that countdown was all about. I've not seen that before. I think Sarah's been fiddling about, have you?
Yeah.
It's too fancy for me. I don't cope well with the tech stuff, so did you get all the house done and then you sat down, Drew? Big mistake sitting down. Because you can't be annoyed getting back up. There's Misty. Hi Misty, how are you? Exploring Stranger Things is in as well. Evening to you folks. Thanks for coming along. Hope you're enjoying the heat, wherever you may be. Now, I'm ready to start when you're ready.
Get a couple of minutes. Talk to the chat.
It's always a couple of minutes, isn't it? She says that every week. Get a couple of minutes. Get a couple of minutes. Somebody can turn into half an hour. You melting, Misty? We're the same. We were out in the garden this morning and we lasted about an hour and thought, you know what? No, time up. I think it was 28 degrees or something here today. Which up here we don't usually see. We average about 10 degrees really, don't we?
Roughly,
we don't really get like, above the 20s. So it was a bit. I think it's to be the same tomorrow as well. So the shorts will be back out again tomorrow. When we get out of the garden. But the schools went back today, which is a wee bit of a blessing. There's Frankie in. Hi Frankie, hope you're well. The schools went back this morning. The wee one, she was only in for 2.5 hours, but it's amazing the sense of freedom you feel as soon as you get in the school gate. And you know you've only got 2.5 hours, but it feels great. It feels great. Hi everybody, I went over my live again. Is that your live from last night, Drew? See, I felt last night that there was a wee girl there, but she is getting held back, kind of bullied in a way. That's the feeling I was getting. Frankie's just had a flash flood. It's still baking. Well, I think Sarah says that Edinburgh got hit bad last night. Was it Edinburgh or round about Edinburgh?
Edinburgh and round about it, aye.
I think they got hammered last night. We've not had any here yet, but last time we had a flash flood was last year, and we get flooded out. We lost everything. It happened in the space of 4 or 5 hours. It was just torrential rain, really, really bad. And our house was flooded. There was about 13 houses in the street, just totally destroyed. So we're kind of weary if we hear the flash flood warnings and that, because we're back in that house again. They totally gutted it out and done it all up. But so ever we hear a flood warning, our eyes and ears perk up just in case it happens again. Stranger Things getting thunder now as we speak. That sometimes helps by Stranger Things, you know, when it's been really warm and clammy for a couple of days and you get a good old thunderstorm and the temperature just seems to drop right down. Hi Luna, how are you? Laura's in as well. Hi Laura. Hope you're enjoying the heat. But those Stranger Things, I like a good old thunderstorm. We've not had one up here in years. Sarah, she doesn't like it. She hates it. But I like when you get a good old clapper going and the lightning's going as well. You can't beat it. Hi, Shrimp Track. Welcome aboard. Hatchie's in. Hi, Hatchie. How are you? Thanks everybody for coming along. Well, this week we're doing, I don't know if you remember last time we done Henry VIII, talked about his reign and everything that happened during his 38 years he reigned for. So we're talking about that. So this week is kind of a double done, as they say. I'm just going to do a wee bit of the paranormal side of Henry VIII, and then Sarah's going to take over with Mary Queen of Scots. So as I say, Henry VIII, he was, I think he's probably one of the most famous monarchs ever to sit in the throne of England. He reigned from 1509 to 1547, so 38 years, and he had quite an eventful reign. Changed the country. I'm not going to get into all the history again, but he changed the country a lot, including his break to the Catholic Church, starting up Church of England. One of the things he's most famous for is the amount of people he put to death. They reckoned that there was between 57 and 72,000 people were executed. The other thing he's quite famous for is his 6 wives. 2 were beheaded, one died, and 2 were divorced. Was it 2 divorced? Aye, 2, and the last one outlived him. But as I say, he had an eventful reign. So this way I'm going to just look at a wee bit at what happened to his wives after their death, where they're said to haunt. There was 6 of them. Catherine of Aragon was his first wife. Just briefly, she was the one that she was married to Henry for over 20 years. But she was actually the one that Henry tried to divorce, and Cardinal Wolsey. I need to get back out and back in because I'm freezing. Right, excuse me a minute, folks, and I'll get back out and in.
Technology, guys. Can never get it to work when you need it.
Am I back?
Yes.
Am I freezing?
You are a wee bit, aye, but we'll just need to go. Are you on the Wi-Fi? You'll just need to go with it.
Okay, if I freeze, folks, then my apologies. We're on a new Wi-Fi today, so as I said, Catherine of Aragon, Henry's first wife. She was originally the wife of Henry's brother, who died. So she then married Henry. She was married to him for over 20 years. Failed to give him a son, which back then was a big deal. A male heir was a big deal back then. But she did produce a daughter who was Mary Tudor. But Henry tired of her because he met Anne Boleyn, so he sort of cast that, Catherine to the side, took away her titles, gave her a castle, and basically that was it. It was really rough the way he treated her. So after Catherine passed, she is said to haunt Kimbolton Castle. But she's reported that she's a very humble and light spirit, doesn't cause any great disturbance. So she's been reported as being seen there. Anne Boleyn was next in line. She was married. She was the one that actually stood up to Henry VIII and told him that she would not share his bed until he got an annulment of his marriage to Catherine. So this led to Henry finally breaking away from the Catholic Church due to them refusing to grant the annulment. But they were only married very briefly. They were only married for a couple of years, and then Anne was accused of treason by members of the Privy Council. It was a set-up, basically. They set her up because they didn't like her, because she was very outspoken and she had a strong hold on Henry's mind, Henry's decisions. So they needed shot of her, basically. So they chopped off charges of treason and adultery, and so she was arrested, executed, and she's said to haunt the Tower of London, Windsor Castle, and Hever Castle, where she was born. So she's quite a busy spirit, for reports of where she's said to roam. After Anne was executed, Henry started courting Jane Seymour. Now, Jane was different. Jane was very, very pure. She came from a respectable family. She had very, very strong religious beliefs. There was no, previous relationships with her, nothing. So this caught Henry's eye because he saw this as she was pure, untouched, and Henry kind of really fell in love with her. And Jane Seymour was actually the only wife that actually produced a son for Henry, who was Edward. But sadly, Jane passed away during childbirth, which kind of broke Henry quite a bit, because he had a very, very deep affection for her, plus with her providing a son. So this was a major, major thing. There's Nicole in. Hi, Nicole. Thanks for coming along. So Jane is said to haunt Hampton Court Palace grounds, and also on the anniversary of Edward's death. Now, Edward, after Henry died, Edward took the throne, but he only reigned briefly till he was 15 until he passed away. And on the anniversary of his death, Jane is said to climb the stairs in Hampton Court Palace that led up to his bedroom, holding a candle. Next in line was Anne of Cleves. Now, this was a bit this kind of broke quite a few people. Anne of Cleves, Henry had never laid eyes on Anne of Cleves, but it was actually his close aide and advisor Cromwell who arranged for Henry to be sent a portrait of Anne. So Henry was sent the portrait, and Cromwell said to him she'd be a good choice, she was beautiful, etc. And so Henry agreed to the marriage. She was brought to England and appeared before the king, who took an instant dislike to her. He says she looked like a horse. She was nothing like the portrait, showed, and he'd been not done well by his council. So they were married. He went through with the marriage, but they never consummated the marriage. So the marriage was quickly annulled. But after the annulment, Henry stayed close to Anne. She was given, a nice house, lands, and she was given about £2,000 a year allowance, which back then was quite a sum of money. So Henry kind of looked after Anne for some reason after they had divorced. Now, Anne is the only wife who there are no great reports of her haunting anywhere. There is rumours, and her former home is now a pub, and I'll just see if I've got the name of this right. I might pronounce this wrong, but Maddlefield is where she lived. So the house that she lived in is now a pub restaurant, and in there's reported to be the ghost of a woman. Some people have said it's Anne, other people haven't, but it's never ever been confirmed, exactly who this spirit is. But they say there's a strong kind of moment for Anne. Henry married Catherine Howard. Catherine Howard came from a very poor background. She was in a kind of girls' home prior to coming to Henry's court. So this was all new to her, and she was mesmerised by all, having the attention of the king and all the splendour and wealth that went along with being a member of Henry's court. She was only young. There's no confirmed age of how old she was when she married Henry, because nobody has been able to track down when she was born. But they estimate she was about 18, 19 when she married and became Queen of England. So she was relatively and she ended up having an affair with the King's groom, Thomas Culpeper. She was found out and she was arrested for treason and executed. Now, she's said to haunt the Great Gallery in Hampton Court Palace, and she has been heard screaming. This is where she actually, after her arrest, she broke away from her guards. The King was in chapel taking prayers, and Catherine broke away from her guards in order to try and reach the chapel. But she was unsuccessful. She was captured again, taken to a tower, and executed. So she's said to roam the Great Gallery in Hampton Court Palace, and screams have often been reported being heard by members of staff and members of the public. Last on the list was Catherine Parr. Now, Catherine Parr was Henry's last wife, and she was the only wife that outlived him. During their marriage, Catherine Parr was quite strong religious views. She read some books that were kind of outlawed at the time, and Henry did at one time did threaten to have her executed for treason unless she proclaimed her undying love for him, which she did. So she outlived him. Mr. Catson, imagine having to sleep with him. Exactly, because when he died, he was in excess of about £250, £300, something like that. He was huge, which we covered in our when we done the history of Henry VIII. Now, Catherine Parr, I might have this name wrong, so if I pronounce this wrong, I do apologise. Is rumoured to haunt Supudley Castle, and it's said that she haunts there because she had a daughter that she lost. The daughter died, and so she haunts there looking for her lost daughter. So that's sorry, folks, phone slipped. Sorry. As for old Henry, I don't think you can talk about the ghosts without including the man himself. He's said to haunt Windsor Castle, Hampton Court Castle, Hampton Court Palace, sorry. So he's said to haunt there. A few years back, there was security footage emerged from Hampton Court. I don't know if any of you remember this, of double doors being thrown open, and what can only be described as a sort of spectral figure in a long cloak appearing at the door. Now, at the time, it says that there was nobody in that particular area of the palace, and they couldn't, say who it was, so they weren't sure. Now, I'm not exactly sure. I'll be honest with you, I'm not exactly sure the outcome of the story. There was stories that was proved to be a hoax, and there is stories that it was. You can look it up on YouTube if none of you have watched it before. Have a wee look, see what you think. I've seen it many times, and to be honest with you, I'm on the fence with it. I really don't know. But he's said to haunt Hampton Court Palace, along with Cardinal Wolsey. Now, Cardinal Wolsey was Henry's first closest advisor. However, he wasn't very much liked by Henry's Privy Council, because basically, and most of the council were all born into high-class families. So the people of the council, they thought that they had more power than he, right to the power, and he didn't. But Wolsey was a very clever man, very educated, and this caught Henry's eye. And so Henry made him next in line, basically, his advisor. So he was above the rest of the Privy Council. Henry put him in charge of his annulment from the Catholic Church. He spent 2 years working on the annulment, and it just didn't happen. And this is when he started to lose favour with the king. Anne Boleyn was on the scene by this time, and she hated Wolsey. So she was starting to poison Henry's mind against him, and also the Privy Council were all against him. So the guy was he didn't really stand a chance. His main thing was keeping in favour with the king, but that was slowly fading because he couldn't get the Pope to get this annulment. Henry eventually tired of it. He stripped him of all his lands. He stripped him of his houses, his money. But it was actually Wolsey that owned Hampton Court Palace. He had it built for himself. And so, in one last desperate attempt to stay in the king's favour, Wolsey gave Hampton Court to Henry. But it didn't work. Henry, he had enough. And so Wolsey was arrested. And there's two different stories to this. Some say that he died before he could be tried of natural causes. Others say he was committed suicide in the Tower before he could be tried. But he's said to haunt Hampton Court Palace as well. So going over all his wives and etc., it makes me ask one question: why are they still around? I mean, we've all heard the story of spirits sometimes stick around because they've got unfinished business, and maybe it's true, except for Anne of Cleves. If you take in Catherine of Aragon, Anne Boleyn, Catherine Howard, they were all kind of, Catherine of Aragon, for instance, she was just thrown aside. So maybe she's still hanging about because she's trying to clear her name, trying to get back what was rightfully hers. Anne Boleyn as well. It emerged after Anne's execution that she'd actually been framed. None of the accusations were true. It was just the Privy Council way to get shot her, basically. So maybe she's still hanging around to try and prove her innocence. James Seymour, unfortunately, she did pass away, but she's still hanging around looking for her son. Is she wanting to be reunited with her son? Anne of Cleves, as I said, there's no real any records of her haunting anywhere. She seems to have got the best deal out of all the wives, So is it that she passed away and she was quite content with how her life had turned out, so she'd actually went over to the light. Catherine Howard, she was done for committing treason, basically committing adultery, and so is she still hanging about because she's still kind of naive, still thinks that she's living there, basically, if that makes sense. Catherine Parr, she's still there because she is looking for this daughter that she sadly lost through illness, I believe it was. I think it was illness. So, what do you think, folks? Do you think there's a reason why the wives are still hanging about, in various places? They don't all haunt the one place. Why do they haunt, like, for instance, Anne Boleyn's Hever Castle, where she was born? Some of them are different castles, some Hampton Court Palace. So they're kind of scattered all over the place. You've still got Wolsey. He's still reported to be hanging about. I think Henry's maybe hanging about because he's still wanting to stamp his authority on everything, because he was quite an authoritative man. He wanted everybody to know he was a king. It's this way, you'll do it this way, otherwise you're off to the scaffold, basically. But I'd be interested to see your comments, what you think on it. But that's just my wee bit for this week. They say it's Sarah's going to do Mary Queen of Scots, but I just wanted to fill you in on where the wives went after they'd met the headsman, passed away. I'll hand you over to Sarah. Thanks for listening.
Well, that was very interesting. I'm here. My camera's off because my eyes are really itchy. I was saying that in the comments. So I'm constantly trying to itch them, so I'm just going to keep my camera off.
Right. She's there somewhere, folks. I don't know.
I'm still here. I'm waiting for you to stop freezing so I can speak.
Am I still freezing?
Badly.
Right, I'll come back out again. I do apologise for this, folks. I can't see myself freezing, so I had no idea that I was freezing. But I'll come back out and get back.
Yeah, it's still exploring things, and if I remember how to do it. There you go. That should be you now. Right, let's go back in. Right, let's go back in.
Am I back in now?
Yes. Right, anyway, let's get started.
I don't know why I'm freezing because I've got full bars on the Wi-Fi here, so that's no idea. I don't know. Sorry, Sarah. Fire in.
So tonight's topic is Mary Queen of Scots. This is going. It'll be me that's doing this one. It's going to be it'll be done in a couple of parts because her life is quite long, so to speak, and it would be too much to bore you with in one night. And then Scott is going to tell you all about a new idea that we've got. So let's get started. So Mary Queen of Scots was born. They don't exactly know when, but she was born in 1542 in Linlithgow Palace, and she was born a week before her dad died. So her dad was the king at that time, so she was then crowned queen at just 6 days old. Can you actually imagine that, Scott, being queen at 6 days old, like just a tiny baby, and you're like the queen of a country?
But that's how it was back then. I mean, you know, it doesn't matter what age you were. If you were next in the line of succession, you could be a day old and you would still be. Obviously, you had somebody, people were appointed to you to do all your bidding, but you still had the title of king or queen, you know, whatever. But that's just how it was back in the day.
Back in the day, I know. So anyway, as we were saying last week, the tie between Mary Queen of Scots and King Henry VIII was that he was her great uncle. And as a result of this, he made a bid for control of Scotland, basically. But Mary's mother decided that she wasn't going to let this happen, so she acted as regent instead until Mary was obviously
Can I
older.
just jump in for 2 seconds here? Sorry, just Exploring Stranger Things says they can't drop the link because they're not blue.
I fixed that.
Oh, you did, right? Sorry, I'm just reading through the comments and I just saw it. Sorry. Carry on. Sorry.
Mary was initially betrothed to marry Henry's son Edward, but because the fact that Henry VIII had broke away from the Catholic Church, the Scottish Catholics basically objected it, and they weren't wanting it to go ahead, basically. So because of this, and the fact that Scotland had rejected the marriage proposal, England then went on to attack Scotland, basically. And it's now known as the Rough Wooing. And because Scotland was obviously fighting against England, they needed an alliance, so France stepped in, and Mary was betrothed to the eldest son of King Henry II of France.
Hi, Sheriff.
So, because of this marriage proposal, Mary had left for a life in France when she was just 5 years old. And she would stay in France and be educated and go on to have a happy childhood until she was of age to marry, basically. And the alliance between Scotland and France was risky, but the pros outweighed the negatives basically, because it made sure that Mary, first of all, was safe, and that the Scottish throne would be safe against Henry VIII, because, like I said, he wanted to rule Scotland as well. How old was she when she was married? I think. Scott, do you know?
Oh, hi, Bobby. Sorry.
Do you know what age she was when she married Francis? I think she was 15, 16. I could be
She was
wrong.
still, she was kind of mid-teens when she married. I think he was the son of King Henry of France. I think she was in mid-teens, Nobby, when I would say this is 15, 16, round about that. She was still young. She was still young, but seriously, back then, age, well, there's Frankie Pieces, 15. Thanks, Frankie. Hi, Beth. Welcome along. That's right, saying she was 15.
I thought that she was like 15, 16. Obviously, back then, like Scott said, the age to get married was a lot younger than what it is nowadays. Anyway, back to the marriage. The marriage was seen as controversial in Scotland because many Scottish people not only wanted their queen to live in Scotland, but they also wanted her to marry into a noble Scottish family. But obviously, that didn't happen. And also, the fact that she was a female automatically put her reign at risk, because in order to have an heir, she would be expected to marry, and her husband would essentially expect and be expected to take over the ruling, because he was obviously male.
Hi, Dark. We'll get you changed to blue so you can drop your link. Sorry, Sarah, just seen that comment.
It's fine, I'll do that right now. 2 seconds, guys.
Just while you're just actually do a little research. Anna Cleese did all right. Lifelong friend, I expect she was the BDSM, but he had many vestiges. No, he did. Actually, you're right. He did have quite an appetite in that direction, and quite a few things that he liked to do. And Anne did. She get the best deal out of the lot of them, basically. So you're right there. Anna Cleese did come off better.
So, the negotiations of the marriage contract started in January of 1558 between Scotland and France. And Mary would become the Dauphin of Francis's wife, and he would become king, basically. It was the Scottish government that had granted it, that he would essentially become king. He would have the same power as Mary over Scotland, even though she practically didn't have any power over France. Which, to be fair, I don't think is fair, but again, that's how life was back then.
But don't forget, marriage back then, a lot of the time it wasn't for love. It was more you were betrothed to sort of, for instance, Mary, Henry's daughter, she was betrothed to the emperor. She was only 6 or 7 years old, and he was a grown man, and they were betrothed to be married. So marriage was more about politics and trying to keep in with different countries than love, basically.
The next issue that they had to decide or talk about in the marriage contract was that if Mary had died before Francis, then it would be too good, basically. So she signed a secret treaty to say that if she died before him, with no heirs, Scotland would be handed over to France. I was just going to get to that bit, Frankie. So there was a couple other things that was on the treaty, basically. One of them was that any of Scotland's revenue would have to be paid to France to reimburse them for the money that they paid in the wars against England. And lastly, she would renounce any arrangements that she had, or any arrangements that she might later make, basically, that would interfere with the terms. And there was also the thing about whether Mary had a right to the English throne. And as Frankie said, they got married on Sunday the 24th of April, 1558, at the Cathedral of Notre Dame. The ceremony and celebration basically was a big party, and it was extravagant, and it showcased the excess and drama of the French Renaissance. And that is basically the first small section of her life.
She did have quite an eventful life. She was, I think she was quite a wise woman, quite a strong-willed woman as well, was she, no, Sarah?
Yeah.
And she only really, at the end of the day, she only really wanted what was best for Scotland. But as you say, marriages back then were, I mean, marriage these days, you know, you meet somebody, you fall in love, you go to church, you know, chapel, wherever, and get married, sign a marriage certificate, bit of paper, that's it. But back then, a marriage certificate was a contract, basically. It was pages and pages of stuff, and it was all about money and power and politics, and you were betrothed to what, even if you didn't like the person or had never met. There was a lot of cases where the woman had never ever met the individual, but they were told that you're betrothed to such and such of Belgium, whatever, and he's 30 years older than you, but you will marry him one day. And sometimes the betrothal, it didn't work out. Sometimes the one person would die, or somebody else would come along who had more power, wealth, influence, and so the woman was betrothed to this person instead. Um, it was. I don't think it was a very nice time to fall in love back then. As say, well, I mean, Henry VIII's sister, she was betrothed to the King of Portugal, and who was many, many years older than her. And so she went over to Portugal, but she was escorted there. Henry sent people to take her over, and she fell in love with one of them. And the King of Portugal died, and she ended up with one of Henry's closest friends, basically. And they went back to England, and they had to tell the king what happened, and they were banished from court, basically. Even though the two of them loved each other, they were banished from court. Sarah's waving Irn-Bru about. I don't know why she's waving Irn-Bru about. I really don't know. You're right, Sheriff. I think Sarah has got a bottle of Irn-Bru. But feel free to drop your links anytime you want. Just stick them down there. We'll just have a wee look through the comments now. So what do you think of how marriages, etc., were arranged back then? Do you think it was beneficial to countries or to an individual? We saw your pictures, Drew, up on Facebook. Very smart. I hope you enjoyed this first day at the big school, as they say. Misty, I love Iron Brew. First holiday in Sky. I lied on it for 2 weeks as the water looked like we. Scotland's meant to have some of the purest water about, I do believe. If anybody's want to come up in the panel, Drew, Dobie, Sheriff, anybody at all, Luna, Sarah can drop the link in and you can come up for a wee chat and what you think of Henry VIII, his wife, why they're still hanging about to this day. Or about Mary, what's your views on Mary's marriage, how it was arranged, and all the can just. I'm not an expert on Mary Queen of Scots by all means. I've seen a couple of films, etc. on it, but it doesn't make me an expert, obviously. But if anybody's want to come up on the panel, then just Sarah can drop the link. So I was saying, I always think it was a risk for a female in those days, especially being married to. It was, Dovey, you're bang on, being married to Henry was, could be, I don't know the best way to describe it. It was like walking in eggshells, for want of a better word, you didn't know from day to day what kind of mood he would be in. As I said, the big thing back then was to produce a king with a male heir. So I think a lot of his wives were under pressure to fall pregnant, and during the pregnancy, they were hoping and praying that it was going to be a boy. Catherine of Aragon, she the wee girl. Anne Boleyn, she the wee girl who was she was Elizabeth, who eventually ended up signing Mary Queen of Scots' death warrant, actually. I lived near once at England desk. Cromwell never took it. What a butchery going on down this part of the world. As whoever's reading, do you are your farm. There was a load of butchery back. It was just bloodshed everywhere, especially with Henry. Henry's probably hanging around because nobody wants him. That could be true, Misty. Maybe he's scared to go into the light because kind of life that he led on this side. He started off. He became king when he was 18, and he started off with the intentions of making England a great country. He was a very he was all for the people. He wanted to build up England and give the people as best a life as he could. But as time went on, this all changed. His whole attitude changed, and he became just for him basically. And he turned into quite a bit of a tyrant. He did have an accident. Jousting with a few accidents, but one accident he had a head injury. So some people blamed this on his sudden change of attitude, his mood. So he would fly into a rage for the slightest thing. You could be his best pal one day, and you could be on the scaffold the next day for no reason at all. He was the king. He could make up any charge and make it stick. So with Henry, you didn't need to have a trial. If Henry says you were guilty, that was it. You were gone. So a lot of people did live in fear, and nobody says a lot of women, his wives would have lived in that kind of fear. Not a very nice way to live. Not a very nice way to be married to somebody. And then not forgetting all his mistresses as well. Did Henry see women as a vintage collection? I think probably he did. I think he saw women as possessions. Apart from maybe Jane Seymour, he did have a very, very soft spot. And after Jane passed away, he did go into seclusion for a couple of months. Nobody's seen or heard from him. He had away, basically through grief. So I think he saw them all as possessions, except Jane. And I think one of the main reasons was because Jane gave him a son, and because of her background. Those days were only good for people with money, and the poor suffer. But That's exactly it, Drew. If you had money, you were okay. If you didn't, then you were something, basically. I'm not sure the average life expectancy, but I don't think it was any more than like 30 years old, the life expectancy back then, because, I mean, the conditions were disgusting, obviously. There's no sanitation, disease was rife, especially from, in London, being next to the Thames. There was rats and all sorts came out of the. Well, there's all sorts went into the Thames, and so there's all sorts came back out the Thames, and in the way of diseases with the rats and stuff. And if you had no money, you couldn't pay for, you know, what they called doctors back then. So you were just basically left to street to rot and die. I know it's. I don't mean any disrespect to all those that passed away back then, but that's the way it was. No money, no life. Um, you got your coke in that. What somebody's Brett's of the Cardies. Oh, Hatch's Brett behave. I do my best to keep it. Hopefully, the conversation's not going to go south again. Because anybody's been watching the last few between ourselves, Chris and Drew, the conversations went south rather quickly. I think we've lasted not well tonight. Actually, I think Chris's live lasted about 10, 15 minutes before it went south. So we've been on 47 minutes, and I think we're doing okay so far. Sarah can see more of the comments than I can, because for some reason I'm on my own data. Just this Wi-Fi just does not like me. It's not agreeing with me. Hi Shell, how are you? If anybody's want to come up and give their thoughts and opinions and on it, then feel free to come up. But Sarah was talking about an idea that we've come up with. It's still in the stages. But what we're doing up a Facebook group, and it's going to be called Paranormal Balance. There's going to be 8 or 9 people involved in it, and basically what it's going to be is stories from paranormal from around the world, with different topics, different subjects, all from around the globe, all into the one group. Every member of the group is their own their own gift, their own field of expertise, as we'll say. So they're going to be putting that in here. And as I say, we only came up with the idea a couple of days ago. So we're in the working. We're in the working together. And after it's been up and running for a couple of weeks, then we'll be starting a YouTube channel as well, where we hope we'll be doing we'll be doing 1, maybe 2 lives per week, just covering various subjects. It's going to be it will be paranormal, it will be history, ghost stories, etc., from different parts of the world. So we're looking forward to doing that. It should be quite interesting. You can let us know what you think on that one.
Either way. So yeah, basically it will be pretty much what Parapol is, but it will be from all around the world. We'll still obviously do lives and investigations, all that will be separate. But it's basically just going to be a separate group for it all, practically.
I don't know what happened there. I never pressed the wrong button. I just got kicked out. Laurie says sounds like a great idea. Thanks for Dobie. Sounds good, Scott. Humour is allowed. Actually, we are, as I say, our conversations usually head south at some point of the night or another. So humour is allowed. I mean, if you listened into Chris and me's live on, Monday night, was it, Sarah?
Yeah, and it was all about wetsuits and Vaseline, as Hatchie Hatch will know, and various.
Various other subjects, you know. So humour is allowed. Misty says, sounds good. I don't do Facebook as I don't want my naughty comments to catch up with me. That's fine, Misty. Say, once we get off and running, sorry, we'll be doing a YouTube channel as well, and we'll be doing lives. I just think it's a way to bring another way to bring the paranormal community together on a global kind of scale. We're not going to cover every country. It'd be great if we could, but we're not going to cover every country in the world. But we will. I mean, America's got some fascinating stories, as is the UK, as is Europe. There's loads of history there, loads of ghost stories, paranormal, ghost hunt teams. There are lots. So we're going to be trying to cover most of it, and it is a way to bring everything together. You're all welcome to join. Come on board, share your stories, experiences. If you get any, pictures, but anything you want, you come on and join on and hear the fun, as they say. Sounds good. Sounds good. I don't do Facebook. It's neutral territory. I think I'm not sure what Drew's meaning. Maybe it's neutral. Even on here it's neutral territory. Actually, actually. Drew, sour grapes. I love you. I love you all. So what do you think? Why do you think Henry's wives are still kicking about? I'd be interested in people's views on it. To see what they think on it. Yes, and the Mary Queen of Scots as well, obviously. Um, this is only the first week. I think there's another two parts to go, and then we'll be covering something else. We're going to be doing like William Wallace, Robert the Bruce. We're going to be doing a lot of major figures in Scottish history and English history as well, obviously. There are a lot of people who changed the course of history, basically, through wars or through being on the throne, whatever. So we will be covering a lot of them as well. Everybody loves you, Hatchie. Visit Transylvania would be interesting. I've seen a couple of documentaries on Transylvania. And there's also a forest as well, I believe. In this particular forest, there's a circle in the middle that nothing grows. It's just an empty circle, no trees or anything growing. And so we will be doing, let's say, Transylvania and Dracula's castle, etc., and the forest. And if you've got any ideas, let's say most probably because they lost their head. Or saying, I wonder if Henry's wife was around as a show of her. That is possibly they could be scattered around as a show of power, a way of saying, that this is what we rule, this is what we own, this is how powerful we are. So I take it, am I still breaking up bad?
Very badly.
I do apologise. This is the first time this has happened to us, and I don't know why it's happening. I'm going to go out and come back in yet again. I know it's quite annoying for all you watching and listening, but I've got a full signal here on my phone, and I can't see anything that be could be wrong.
He's away again. It's really bad tonight, guys. I don't know why. I don't have a clue. So I think we'll be ending this pretty soon. Especially if Scott keeps coming and going.
As Chris would say, it's the spirits.
I don't know why. It's new Wi-Fi. We've both got full bars. So I don't know. Maybe StreamYard's playing up. I don't know.
I've no idea. Brett saying they used to dismember bodies and bury them all over Britain. They did, Brett. You're right. They used to, if you were hung, drawn, and quartered. That's what they did with William Wallace. Actually, when he was hung, drawn, and quartered, they hung his head from Tower Bridge, and they sent his four limbs to different corners of the country as a warning to other people, and so who knows how many people are actually buried all over the place. When you think about it, the millions and millions of people that have lived previous to us. I know there's a lot of cemeteries in Britain, but if you think the amount of people that's actually existed before us, where are they buried? They could be buried right under your house. I'm not trying to scare you. I wouldn't do that. But they've got to be buried somewhere. Just a wee thought. Just a wee thought. Just popped in my head there. I don't know what's happening with this Wi-Fi. Have you got a storm brewing up there here in Scotland? Not that I know of, though, but it seems I'm going to have a wee look at the window because I don't think it's. There's nothing.
I think it's
Nothing
just
happening
because
I think Drew. Hello?
we can hear you.
I think Drew mentioned thunder earlier on. Drew, is that right? Thunder earlier on? But it's anything to do with the Royals. There probably will be a lot, Brett. Yep. Yeah.
Hopefully it's fixed for the next time, guys, because this is really annoying. But
Luna says I was on phone and sat it down and it did it.
I think she accidentally timed out Misty Cat. I think. I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know what's going on. I don't know. To me, if you tune into a Wi-Fi, it should just work. That's my way of thinking. The thing should just work. If it doesn't work, then I'm lost. To it all. Luna's on her PC now. It might be a new provider. But Drew says it'll be StreamYards. Everybody will be on live at this time, so it'll be straining to keep up. But very, very possibly. I mean, I know it's annoying for everybody watching. It's annoying for us. It's embarrassing for us as well, to be honest with you. That our wee lives not going as planned. That it keeps breaking up and freezing and something. So it's kind of it's embarrassing. Embarrassing, and it makes us feel bad for yourselves because you took the time to come along and join in and watch us, and for some reason it's getting screwed up. Um, Toby, I apologize to you. I don't slag no one. I don't like it. This guy. For it. Frankie P saying LOL technology. Exactly, Frankie. I don't understand technology. I can work my phone in the TV and then I am lost totally. Sarah's the technology genius in the house, as she'll tell you. I'm thick as pork when it comes to it. Isn't that right, Sarah?
Yep.
See, now I'm freezing. Am I freezing on your screen?
Yeah.
Well,
He's away again. I know, Drew. It is shocking. I'm hoping it settles down because we've got full bars and stuff, but I'm thinking it's just that the Wi-Fi's literally just brand new. It only get turned on this morning, so I'm hoping it's just settling.
I just get kicked out again, and I've not touched anything. I never pressed leave chat or nothing. It just kicked me out again. That's life, Scott. Was interesting. I'm no techie. On and off. That's it. Thanks, Mr. Cat. I'm certainly not a techie. Never have been. But it's good that you found it interesting. Even though our Wi-Fi is getting up the spout, you can still feel free to drop your links, people. Frankie P, my mum just learned to use the video on her phone and she's 70. Well, I'm not alone then, Frankie. I'm not alone. Hatchie's saying, bad energy, you're shot yourself in the foot. I think we're shot ourselves in the foot with changing provider. Dobie's, well, you guys know I'm not up in technology. You are all good. Thanks. It's good to know that you are behind us, that you agree with us. For instance, she doesn't know much about subjects, so she stay in chat. That's totally fine, Luna. If you're comfortable doing that, not a problem. Sheriff, it's cool, Scott. We know the internet is screwy. It happens to us. Oh, it's very screwy tonight, Sheriff. I'm telling you, usually we don't have a lot of trouble. Well, I think we've had 1 or 2 wee glitches over the past few weeks, but where I've froze a couple of times. But tonight just seems to be off the scale, as they say. It just seems to be running riot. But let us know about what you think about the Facebook. Try again. That's no technology. That was me that time. About the Facebook group. And see, Parapol's going to be running every Monday as well. So if you get any subjects that you'd like us to look into, or you like to hear more about, then drop us a wee comment or a wee message on our Facebook page. And we'll certainly be very, very happy to do it. As I said way back at the start, but some weeks we'll do paranormal, some weeks we'll do history, and other weeks we're just going to throw in a wee it might have nothing to do with history or the paranormal, just be a totally random subject, just for a bit of fun, just to, give the minds a wee rest for a week. Man, Sarah. I'm getting nowhere here. This is some week give the mind a wee rest. We'll just throw in a totally random subject for fun. I think that helps sometimes as well. If you're constantly going, Luna will know I'm going to be constantly going and going, and it's good just to switch off for a night and just focus on something totally different. No disrespect to the spirits or anything like that, but it's good just to be able to shut that wee door and open another one for a wee while. Would you agree, Luna? I know you've mentioned switching off a couple of times.
People need to reset now and again. Exactly.
Yeah, you do need to press that reset button, and I guess the same as everything in life. You need even everyday life, family life, is get some kind of time out. Even if it's just to sit in a room and watch a movie. It's got nothing to do with paranormal or spirits or anything. Just watch a movie for an hour and a half, 2 hours. Even just that can give your batteries just that wee recharge. Especially in Poland, I'm just being friendly here. I mean, what's wrong with wearing a pair of waders when you're fishing? Not my mind. See how easy it is to upset people. Too many distractions in modern day life need to be back to simple. There is, Brett. Go back to the old days when life was a lot simpler. I'm not sure what Hatchie's comment means. Sorry, Hatchie, I'm not understanding your comment, but I see you mentioned the waders anyway. So thanks for that. That image is still there for the other night. You were talking about the waders and was it goggles or face mask on? That image is still implanted up there. But no, Brett, you do need a distraction. Life's too complicated now, really, to be honest with you. Back when I was young, you'd nothing, no complications. You just enjoyed yourself, basically. I'm not talking about going out and getting drunk every night, what have you, but just in general. Yeah, with paranormal, you don't like me, you took it off track, you're a fool. I don't know what that means, actually. It kind of confused me. My mind's a wee bit muddled tonight. Just went in and got the forms out of Liam's bag. Oh my god, having everything. Download. Is that the new rules and regulations from school, Drew? What shame on you? Actually, I don't know what the issue is. I mean, I'm not meaning any offence, buddy. I don't know what the issue is or whatever. But I'm really not understanding your comments. I don't know if anybody else can understand them or shed any light. I'm not getting anywhere with them. I do apologise, buddy. I don't mean any offence for that. Brett saying the same as no mobile phones has console. No, there was when I was younger, Brett, there wasn't any mobile phones or nothing. And these days, I mean, our daughter's the same. She's only 4, and she goes on about Wi-Fi and all everything else, and you think, no, you just don't know. especially worries for the kid coming into this world. Yeah, because they're coming into a world of technology basically, where everything's run and watched by technology. Actually, if there is an issue here, then I'd rather you just, private mail is it's not a problem.
I'm still here, guys. Still
I
here.
think I'm still here as well. I'm probably in a minority. All right, Drew, I've got you now. I'm being shagged out. He's thick. Spiritual sense sometime. Sweet Bell Frankie, thanks for coming in. Actually, are you meaning that I'm thick? Or, these your comments aren't making any sense. Do I know what you mean? Money. I the lunch card kind of thing. Back in my day, Drew, uh, tuck shop thing, you go, halfway through the class, the wee cupboard would open up and tuck shop. That was back in my day. You take care, Frankie. We hope we see you the next time. Thank Hatch. I hope he was. I mean, there's no offence taken, no harm taken or anything, Brett. It's just obviously his comments were. I don't mean any offence. His comments were a wee bit confusing. So back on with your flow, allow me to be me. Would be nice. Actually, we are allowing you to be you. We're no on your back in any. We're just wondering what your comments are about. If you've got an issue with us or whatever, that's all. We're no here to cause any trouble. We're here to have a chat and a bit of a laugh. That's it. We're not on your back or anything. We're just here for a chat. How are we doing, Legacy? We're all friends in here and we're just here for a gab, basically. Just a quick question. What's the paranormal side to? The paranormal side to, are you meaning the whole Henry VIII thing or just Henry himself? Correct. I hope you're well, Legacy. Feel free if you want to come up with the panel and say hello.
Even though we're having technical issues.
Paranormal side to Henry. I keep hearing that. I'm hearing Vanessa. Henry's still hanging about. He's well known to haunt, as I say, Hampton Court Palace. He has been spotted at the Tower of London as well. I think Henry's side it is that I think he's personally scared to move, to pass over to the light because of everything he's done here, and that's part of the reason, the other part of the reason is because he feels if he passes through, that he'd be relinquishing the power that he had over everybody. He still likes to stamp his power on people. If that makes any sense, Brett, to you? Legacy's going live soon. We'll be off here soon anyway, Legacy, so we'll pop over to your live. You still there, Sarah? I think Sarah's gone as well. I think we're going to wind it up, folks. I can only apologise. I hope you come back and see us the next time. Just tonight's, I don't know what the hell's going on. Excuse the French. It's just Oh, thanks, Misty. He was quite a foreboding person. He did like everybody to know he ruled. That was it. He was the boss. And I think he's just that much. He enjoyed it that much. He just doesn't want to let go. He still feels he's in charge, basically. Sarah, you still with us?
Yes.
I don't know if we just might wind up because we're having to. It's no fair and everybody's watching either.
No, I think we've all just ended up.
We keep breaking up and freezing and Lord knows what else. And it's no fair in all you sitting there watching. I've watched lives where it's been, up and down, and it's quite frustrating watching it. I do, so I do get that bit of it, and I can only apologise. But we will be here next Monday. We're on before the Monday, are we? I don't think we're. Are we?
No, just on Age of Darkness is live.
Age of Darkness and Saturday night. But remember, drop your links, and I hope you can buy and see us. A million apologies for tonight. It's just been, I don't know the word for it, a mess, and I apologise if it's frustrating, please, and annoying. But we do appreciate you all being here, so mind put a wee thumbs up. Hopefully it's not a thumbs down because of the Wi-Fi situation. Hopefully you give it a wee thumbs up there. And we'll see you all again very soon. And wherever you are, take care and stay safe. And thanks for coming.
Right, bye guys. I'm going to end this because it's really, really annoying. And thanks for coming. And we apologise a lot. Sorry for the technical issues. Hopefully next time it will be a lot better. Bye guys.